The clinking of cutlery echoed through the kitchen of our spacious metropolitan apartment. I was silently watching Dmitri across the table. 15 years of marriage, 15 years during which I had been more than just his wife. I didn't just support him, I was his shadow, the invisible force without which he would never have reached the deputy minister's chair. I sat in the front row at his speeches, whispered whom to shake hands with and whom to avoid. Dmitri had learned to take my care for granted. And now he was sitting, buried in his phone, mechanically chewing over his workday. He barely looked up, as if the screen were more interesting than the woman who had supported him all these years. I watched as he mechanically read a message and immediately flipped the phone face down. The plastic hit the tabletop with a dull thud. I saw the muscles in his neck twitch, how he hastily picked up a glass of water. A work call distracted him, and he, forgetting everything, went into the hallway. I hadn't planned to spy on my husband, but the phone lying face down seemed to scream of a secret. When I picked it up and saw the message, something inside me snapped. Can't wait for our night. You are my strong and powerful man. The sender was Victoria, his new assistant, a young and ambitious woman he had recently hired. Dmitri returned to the table and froze, seeing me holding his phone with the message open. What is this? I asked quietly, feeling my world crumble. Dmitri tried to talk his way out of it, but under my gaze, full of pain and disappointment, he gave up. Anya, How long has this been going on? I interrupted. 6 months, he replied, lowering his eyes. 6 months of lies, during which I had continued to believe in our relationship, plan our future, support him at important events, be the perfect official's wife, while he secretly met with another woman. Why, was all I could manage to say. She's young, passionate, ambitious. She understands my world, Dmitri muttered. And who created that world, Dima? Who gave up her own career so you could focus on yours? Who stayed up nights editing your speeches and presentations when you were just starting out? I rose from the table, unable to stay near the man who had betrayed everything we had. I went to my friend Marina's place, unable to stay in the apartment that was a constant reminder of our life together. I cried all night, and in the morning, gathering my strength, I called a lawyer I knew, Grigory, who had previously helped women from elite circles get out of marriages with minimal losses. A standard divorce in your case is like tossing a pebble into a swamp, Grigory said, looking at me intently. He'll instantly find a way to hide assets and paint you as the hysterical wife. We need to get ahead of him. My hands clenched into fists. My nails dug into my palms. He's hiding things, transferring money. Just yesterday I was his wife, today I'm the enemy to be destroyed. But how can I do this when he has everything under control? To start, we need to hire a private investigator, Grigory said. I know a reliable one, specializes in these kinds of cases. 3 days later, the investigator provided the first results. Dmitri had been registering elite real estate in Victoria's name, giving her expensive gifts, and had even transferred a large sum under a fake contract for alleged consulting services. This is just the tip of the iceberg, the investigator said, showing me photos of Dmitri and Victoria entering an expensive residential complex where he had bought her an apartment. He's using his official position and access to state funds to finance this affair. The investigator placed a folder of documents in front of me. Here are bank statements, copies of real estate purchase agreements made out to Victoria, and photos confirming their relationship. With this material, you can demand a fair division of assets in the divorce and compensation for moral damages. I leafed through the folder, feeling pain give way to determination. If Dmitri thought I would just walk away quietly, he was sorely mistaken. When Dmitri realized I wasn't going to simply step aside, clearing his path to a new life with his young mistress, he brought out the heavy artillery. A representative, Andrei, a former colleague of my husband's, came to my friend's apartment. Let's talk like adults, he began, sitting opposite me. Dmitri Nikolaevich holds a high position. A divorce will generate negative press all over the channels. We need to part on good terms. On good terms? I repeated. What about him using state funds to support his mistress? Is that also on good terms? Andrei's face darkened. You know, people sometimes disappear in our city. Things happen. I wouldn't want you to have any troubles. You know what kind of troubles can happen in our city. Andrei leaned back in his chair, shrugging. Sometimes the tax office suddenly takes an interest in declarations, sometimes someone files a report with the prosecutor's office. Sometimes strange stories about relatives surface in the media. Do you need that? I silently watched him. Andrei spoke confidently, but his eyes were darting around. He was applying pressure, but carefully. That meant he was afraid of my reaction. That meant Dmitri was afraid, too. Anna Sergeyevna, it's not wise to bring up topics that could harm you. Dmitri Nikolaevich has many influential friends. Think about your future. I am thinking about it, I replied. And, by the way, this entire conversation is being recorded, and a copy has already been sent to a journalist at an independent media outlet. If anything happens to me, the compromising materials will be published. I looked at the recorded conversation. With one click, I could ruin his life. But then the war would begin. I closed my eyes. So be it. Andrei's face changed. He quickly ended the conversation and left, realizing the intimidation hadn't worked. The next day, I got a call from the tax office. A routine audit. Nothing personal. The day after that, my friend Marina reported that someone had been asking about her work. Dmitri had decided to play dirty, but I knew the rules better. That evening, Dmitri called. Anna, you brought this on yourself, his voice was icy. Do you really think you can blackmail me? No, Dima. I don't think. I just know I have all the evidence. And if you don't want it to be seen, you'd better play fair. Do you understand what you're doing? His voice trembled with barely suppressed rage. You want to destroy everything we built over the years. No, Dima. You destroyed it when you decided to cheat on me with a girl who could be your daughter. I'm just trying to protect myself and my future. I can provide for your future. You agree to an amicable divorce. Dmitri changed his tone. Too late, I cut him off. I already know about your financial machinations, the apartment you bought for Victoria, the money you transferred to her under a fake contract. If you think you can buy me off with a small handout after 15 years of marriage, you don't know me well. Silence hung on the line. What do you want? Dmitri finally asked. Justice, I replied and hung up. After Andrei's visit and Dmitri's call, I realized time was against me. Dmitri could use his connections to quickly hide assets or put pressure on judges. Dmitri is confident everything is under his control, Grigory said, sifting through papers. But if his accounts were unexpectedly frozen? I raised an eyebrow. Is that possible? The question isn't if it's possible. The question is if we can do it faster than he realizes he's losing. He continued, if his assets were unexpectedly used as collateral for a certain interesting company, the very one that would then transfer them to you. I have contacts at the bank where your accounts are held. We can act through an offshore structure so he won't even understand where the money went until it's too late. The plan was risky but effective. First, using the investigators' materials, we prepared an anonymous publication about how a high-ranking official, Dmitri, used state money to support his mistress. Second, through mutual acquaintances, I spread the word that I was ready to hand over the compromising materials to the media if the divorce wasn't swift and fair. Third, the lawyer and financial consultants helped me move some assets to a safe zone, register the apartment and car under a front name, and transfer a significant sum from the accounts through a chain of transactions to another jurisdiction. The main thing is to act quickly, Grigory said. If Dmitri senses a threat, he could hide the assets or use his connections to pressure the court. I agreed. The next day, I pressed send on my phone screen. A notification appeared, published. I knew that in an hour, journalists would start pushing the story. Dmitri wouldn't be able to cover his tracks anymore. An anonymous publication appeared in one of the independent online outlets about corruption schemes of a deputy minister who used his position for personal enrichment and to support a mistress. Although names weren't mentioned, all the details pointed directly at him. Dmitri was pacing around his office.